Hey, it's Kim. Welcome back to a new video. Today's video is all about my current houseplant tour. And the difference between the last video and this one is that I'm actually going to count the plants this time because there have been some major changes between that time and now. This video was also requested by a few viewers, so I do appreciate you leaving those comments for me. This is actually the second time that I filmed this intro because the first intro was filmed at the same time that I filmed the tour, of course. And that was a few days ago. Once I started editing the video, I realized that it would be extremely ridiculously long and I don't want to make you sit through all of that, so I'm going to break this up in two parts. Hopefully just two parts, showing you all the plants that I have, and like I said, I will keep count and to see exactly how many I do have. My collection consists of some common house plants. It consists of some rarer, harder to find varieties as well. I have quite a few of those actually. And I'll try to throw in some tips on the maintenance and the care for these plants if you're interested in that. So please watch out for those tips. I might pop some up on the screen if I forget to mention anything during the course of the actual filming. With all of that out of the way, let's get into the tour. We are going to start this tour off in my living room. And please excuse if any of this is shaky. Of course, I'm trying to do this, you know, one-handed, not on a tripod. But I'm going to take you around. I believe most of my plants live here. And like I said, it's winter, so not everyone's looking great. So I do have with me, I'm armed with scissors and a Swiffer because things are dusty around here also. So let's get started. I'll first show you right over here. This is my ZZ plant. I showed it in the last video, and since then it's grown a few more stalks. I have confirmed it is a real plant. It's grown a few more stalks. That actually took, I swear, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I had it. But it's doing well. It lives there. It likes it there. It's fine. There is, as you can see, a yellow stalk in there. Right down in there that I need to get out, which I will do eventually. And then over on this side of the living room, I have these plants under a grow light because currently there's no better place for them to live or to reside. Let me turn that off. That helps a little bit. So back in the corner is a Rhaphidophora Tetrasperma, or Rhaphidophora Tetrasperma, not exactly sure how to pronounce it. This one on the left is an Alocasia Black Velvet, doing well. This one here is an Alocasia Maharani. I've also heard it referred to as a gray dragon. Speaking of dragons, I had a green dragon. That didn't make it, so it is dead. So it's gone. But yep, that's that corner. And then I'll move you over here to the window. These plants do get a decent amount of light. My house faces southwest, but I do have a large overhang in front of my house, so they don't get direct sunlight, or at least not a lot of direct sunlight. So this one here is my Ficus Triangularis rubber tree plant. It's the variegated one, and she is likely dusty. When I water her, I'll probably put her in the shower to rinse off. This one here is a Monstera Adansonii on a totem. And she is doing very well. However, I will show you, she has pretty long vines that I need to wrap around, and I don't think that's the longest one. I feel like there's another one in there that I need to wrap around and secure her better. Then over here is a smaller rubber tree plant, just a regular burgundy rubber tree plant. And this one and the other Tanique actually lived outside over the summer and they loved it. They grew extremely large. This one was really small when I first got it, and then it grew to a pretty decent size since then. This is a Homalomena Emerald Gem, and I find the care pretty easy. It's similar to maybe like a peace lily, where it'll get droopy when it needs some water, but other than that, the care is pretty simple. I got that from the supermarket near me for like $7, which was great because I had seen one maybe like a week prior. I had seen it at my local nursery for about $25, so I'm really glad I didn't buy it there, and I got one for $7. Down here is my Alocasia Polly. This one is really feeling the effects of winter. It had 5 huge leaves, and then when we had the Christmas tree over in this area, it kind of got a little neglected, wasn't getting sun, and 2 of the leaves were broken. And so then we were left with 3 leaves, and then 1 leaf died, and then another one is in the process of dying right now. So this is typical for alocasias, but I was hoping that we would, you know, keep some of the leaves. I'm glad it hasn't gone fully dormant, but this is where we are. And then I'll show you my plant shelf. I don't really want to turn the lights off, so I'll just get in closer. Everything's a little messy. Down on that bottom shelf, those are mostly all propagations, and I do need to water them, so I'll take you through them as I water everything. Okay, starting up here on the top, this is, what do we call this? Pilea Peperomioides. I have to move this one out of the way. There are 2 stalks in there, and this pot dries out really fast. It seems to like it here, but I think it needs a bigger pot. So I'm gonna do that. This sad looking plant over in the back is a Ficus Triangularis, not the variegated one. It's just the regular green one. And it took me a really long time to find one of these that wasn't like a 6-foot tall tree. Let's see if I can focus. So it did take me a really long time to find one of these, and I have discovered that they are very finicky and not easy. At one point, all of the leaves completely fell off. I have no idea why. It was getting watered. I do find that I have to water this one regularly and stay on top of it, but I was doing all that, and all the leaves shriveled up and died like in one day. Then I was just left with these 2 stalks, and I thought it was completely dead. I was gonna toss it until I noticed a little growth point down there, and the growth point at the tip of this one was green. So I figured, well, let me wait a week or 2 and see what happens, and here we are, new leaves. So I don't know. Still doesn't look the greatest, but we're working on it. Over here we have a lemon lime philodendron, just chilling. And then right next to it is a Rhipsalis Paradoxa, I believe. I received this in a plant trade. This, and I think 3 or 4 other little stalks that I needed to root. So this one is fine, it's doing well. It's in the family of, like, same type of family of a Christmas cactus. I forget the other name for them. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen. But I'll take you right over here, and these are 2 pieces that do have roots currently, but very, very, very tiny roots. I don't know if it's hard to see that. Very tiny roots. So I don't know if it's time to pot those up yet or not. We'll see. Back here is another propagation station. I used to have this one over in my kitchen window, but I moved it to this spot, and in here I have, is it easier if I take this down? Alright, so in this propagation station I have some Philodendron Micans cuttings that have rooted nicely. Just waiting on me to pot them up. This one is a Pothos N'Joy cutting that I took off my plant upstairs that I'm going to root. This is Philodendron Rio. Silver Stripe and Rio look very similar, but these are cuttings that I also traded for, and they're doing well. Need to pot them up, and I do see some new growth, so it is time. Next to those, these are my Jade Satin Syndapsis cuttings. from another plant that I have, and they're rooting okay. I can see a little bit of root rot down at the very bottom. I need to take them out and see what's up. Maybe they need, I don't know, to just be potted up by now. Who knows? They've been in there for a long time, which is also because of winter. I get lazy when it comes to my plants. So this one is a Silver Splash Syndapsis, gifted to me by my friend, my very good plant friend. And this one's doing extremely well and really does need to be potted up. This is actually the newest leaf that grew out since being in this propagation jar, and it has a new one coming out as well. So it's definitely time. Oh, and while we're here, this is a heartleaf philodendron, just your basic green heartleaf philodendron that lives here on my coffee table. I have another larger one that I'll show you upstairs. Okay, so that's that first shelf. And then this next shelf, I'm trying to move back a little bit. I didn't feel like changing the lens on my camera. So this one that I'm turning around, I have it facing that way because it's to point towards the grow light. And it does help actually. In the summer and spring, I do get direct sunlight that kind of comes in through this window. But currently in the fall and winter, that doesn't really happen, so I like to point them towards the grow light to see if that will help. This one has grown quite a lot since I got it. She's really pretty. That's a Cebu Blue Pothos. And these leaves have always looked like this. They're not dying, not yet. I mean, I've had it for quite a while. They just always look bad. But I love that they are huge. Like, I have never seen Cebu leaves this huge. I also have a fenestrated leaf in here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Here's the fenestrated leaf, which is pretty cool. They will do that or get the splits in the leaves as they grow older and they climb up poles. So that's really cool. Here I have an Albo Syngonium. This is taken from my larger plant. And I had some cuttings in here, ones that weren't very variegated, but the new growth has started to come out really variegated, so that's cool. I'll probably use this one for trades. If I do any plant trades, I really am like at max capacity when it comes to plants in my home, but we'll see. And I have that, I rooted them in water, and then once they started rooting a little bit, I switched it over to leca, and it's been growing in that ever since. Same for this Syngonium Macrophylla. This is an older leaf that's probably not gonna last for too much longer. I had a few pieces rooting, and I actually have another one that's down there in water. Actually, it's in perlite, and it's doing pretty well, and I'm gonna add to this. In the back, I have a small Cebu plant, Cebu Blue Pothos. Just okay. I had one of those really large ones that you find at like Walmart and Home Depot the year before last, and I tried to repot it and I completely killed it. So I was able to save like 2 cuttings off of that huge plant. There were only 2 that didn't die, and that's in there, as well as I think maybe that's it. It grew from like those 2 cuttings to that, which is a really cute little plant. There's a dead leaf over there. There. Really cute little plant that's doing well. And then back here are some cuttings from the Rhaphidophora Tetrasperma that I have growing in there. That one has grown a whole lot. They were just, I believe, 3 little leaf cuttings, and now they're vining out, growing new growth in leca. I will likely keep everything that I have over here in leca. I will keep them in leca until, you know, they tell me otherwise. Until they give me any indications that maybe soil might be better. Here I have a small Brandtianum, Philodendron Brandtianum. They were from cuttings that I traded, and this was my first one. So a few cuttings, this cute little plant. And then here I have some cuttings of the same type of plant, a Philodendron Brandtianum, from my larger plant that I found a few months ago, and it's rooting very well. That needs to be potted up. I just don't know where. I don't know if I'll save this for trades. I don't know if I'll pot like these two together. I have to decide. Right here is my Monstera Siltepecana. This one is on a pole and it's leaning. I need to get that up. Let's see. Doesn't seem to be struggling or anything, but it needs to be neater on here. Doesn't look like it's gonna break, but I do. Doesn't look like it's gonna break, but I do need to secure these a lot better. But that's a Monstera Siltepecana that I have growing up this pole, and just like the Cebu Blue, as it grows upward, the leaves get larger, and they will, or they could, grow fenestrations. I don't know if that's likely in a home environment, but that's what that is. And in the back, I have some little Hoyas that I grew from cuttings. I rooted from cuttings. On the left, that's a Hoya Bella that was actually thrown in as like a freebie from one of my plant trays. And on the right is a Hoya Linearis. There were 6 cuttings in there, and I used the butterfly method to root them directly into soil. There were 6 originally, 5 have since made it, and I think 3 currently have new growth. The other 2 haven't died yet, but seems to be slow growing. Yeah, so those seem to be doing fairly well. As we move right down here, this one over here is a Marble Queen Pothos. I actually think it's a Snow Queen variety, but I got that one from like Home Depot, I think year before last. It's doing well. This one here is also a Home Depot find. This is a Hoya Lacunosa, and it was labeled as Royal Flush, which I've seen to have a lot more splash on the leaves, but it looks like the new growth does have a lot more splash than the older leaves. That one's doing well. It was a really large basket, I believe about an 8-inch basket, and I did split it up into smaller plants because I just don't have the capacity for 8-inch baskets of anything really around here. Not too many things. This one is a Hoya Chelsea. It's just one stem in there. I have a few other stems propagating, which I'll show you in a minute. This one over here is the Hoya Macrophylla. Is that the name of it? Yeah, Hoya Macrophylla. These give you trouble, I will say that. They are not, or they don't take transport easily when they have to adjust to a new environment, or if you change where they are, they will like try and die. So I had to really baby this one. It came in a 5-inch hanging basket, and I had to take it out of the soil it was in. I had to watch it. It was really stressful. So Hoya Macrophylla are not for the faint of heart. They take a lot. Oh, and I made this little trellis just out of an old hanger that I wrapped around. These are the newest leaves that it has grown. I think I've had this plant since, I want to say July or August, and it's just now grown those leaves. So it took a while for it to settle in and relax. This is a watermelon peperomia. I don't do well with peperomias. This one actually was in a really big 8-inch basket that I decided to downsize, kind of. But yeah, I don't really do all that well with peperomias. I don't know what it is. At least these that kind of grow as a bush. I do have a couple of vining peperomia. I think 1, maybe 2, that do just fine. But these, not so much. But this one's still hanging in there. And then back here, which needs a lot of water and has an older yellow leaf that needs to be taken off. I just wait until it pulls off easily. But this is a Pothos, a Manjula Pothos. I also find these to be finicky, just my personal experience. I recently heard that Home Depot was selling like large baskets of these, and secretly wanted one, but I did not get one. Wasn't able to find one. I'm not gonna front like I didn't go looking, because I did. This one is growing in rocks. So there's lava rocks, pumice, and zeolite. It's similar to a pond mixture, but it's not in soil. So it's a soilless mixture, and it seems to like it. When it was growing in soil, it would just rot. I think there were about 5 stems in there. Now I have just 2. This is a Hoya Kerrii. These are the heart-shaped leaf Hoyas, and mine don't have like those pretty shaped hearts. So I don't think it ever will. I think it just always will be these oddly shaped hearts, but it's a really good grower. It's grown fairly fast. I mean, for a Hoya, these top 4 leaves have grown since I had it, and this stem grew. So it's done well. You know, like I said, it seems to be a fast growing Hoya. And over here I have some more stuff. So this plant back here is a Monstera Adansonii, and it's on a really tall pole. Let me see how I can show her to you. Hold on. Okay, so this one is a Monstera Adansonii. It needs to be watered. You see how the leaves are curling a bit? So it definitely needs to be watered. But I have her on this large pole, and I just did this I think last week because I noticed that the leaves are getting smaller as she's growing taller, and then they'll start to grow runners without leaves, and I don't really want that to happen. So I put her on this pole recently. I'm going to water her as soon as we're done, and then the leaves should flatten out. But that's Monstera Adansonii, a variegated variety. I do really like her. I actually think I want to put her on this shelf here to get better sun, and because she's really tall. So I'll likely do that soon enough. All right, down here is where I have all of my propagations and like things that are in the hospital, as I call them. So I will go through these and show them to you because I actually do need to water them. So I'll do that right now. Okay, so here's a closer look, and of course it might be dusty down here, but here's a closer look of all the plants that are down here. And the propagations I have on a heat mat, which is right there. That stays plugged in down there. I'll have a link down below if anybody is interested in that. So I'll pull them out and let you kind of get a better look of what's here. There's some pink princesses, there's a bunch of Hoyas, there's some variegated burl marks, silver sword. Let's go. Okay, so this is a Hoya Mathilde that I have propagating. It's been here for a while. I have it in some leca and perlite. Here I have a Hoya lacunosa. I'm not sure what variety. It kind of looks like a croniana. I'm not sure. It was sold as a yellow something. Here is a Hoya Shepherdii. It is, I would say, one of my most favorite types of Hoyas that I'm actually surprised by. It was like a freebie that was thrown into a plant tray that I have. But it's growing really well. It has really nice roots growing in, and it should have been potted up probably a few months ago. But it's still doing all right. This one is a Hoya Polyneura, also known as a fishtail Hoya. There are started off with 2 cuttings in here. This small leaf is the newest growth, and the roots have grown very well. And leca on the heat mat. So that's the Hoya Polyneura. This one is a Hoya Burtoniae. Yes, I have a larger plant. This vine had broken off and I just rooted it in here. This one is a variegated Hoya compacta. It's the Mauna Loa variety. So that means it has variegation. Is like the reverse variegation, so it's lighter in the center of the leaves and darker on the outsides of the leaves, and it's nicely rooted. And along with that I have a couple of cuttings, I think just 2, of the other type of variegated Hoya compacta. This is the regular kind of version, so there are 2 separate cuttings in here, both of which have rooted, and they're doing pretty well. With Hoyas, I like to wait until they are very well rooted and even growing new growth before I will put them in soil or move them, because I have not had the greatest luck. This is a Hoya Sunrise. Speaking of not having the greatest luck, this was a rooted plant. It was like a long vine of about 6 nodes, I think, and right after I got it, it started dying. So I had to kind of like split it up, and only 2 have survived so far. They are rooting and doing pretty well. This other one is a Hoya Krinkle 8. These are some cuttings that I traded, or they started out as cuttings that I had traded, and this is the one where it has the crinkles in the leaves, like 8 dimples, hence Krinkle 8. This has rooted very well and is ready to be potted up as soon as I get it together. Let me see, there's 2 last Hoyas down here. This is a Hoya Chelsea, supposedly off the mother plant of the Chelsea I showed you on the shelf up above. But as you can see, the leaves don't look round and dimpled. So I don't know if this is just gonna grow out as just like a regular Hoya carnosa. We'll see. But there are 3 cuttings in here and they've all rooted. Wow. And this new leaf has recently grown out. And the last Hoya is this Macrophylla from a different plant that I had. There were 3 cuttings in that plant, and this is the only one that survived. So this one grew out, and this is its newest leaf. Not sure if I'm gonna pot that with the other one. I probably won't. We shall see. All right, this is a Syngonium Macryphylla. Am I saying that right? I'm gonna put it on the screen. But just like the one I showed you up above, I had 3 cuttings and 2 rooted really fast. This one took forever. This one actually started growing a leaf before it started growing roots. I thought it was gonna die, but I just waited it out and it grew the full leaf out. The old leaf died, and then it's growing a new leaf, and it does have some little roots down in there, so it's doing well. Over here, this is a oh shoot, great. Oh, one last Hoya. This is the last Hoya. I know I keep saying that. This is a Hoya obovata, variegated Hoya obovata. This is one that I had to root and reroot and reroot again. It just kept dying. So that's that one. It's doing well since it's been on the heat mat and in this light under the grow light. Now this one is a variegated Burl Marx. Okay, anyway, this is a variegated Burl Marx. I bought it as a larger plant, but it has started to decline. I'm finding that Burl Marx are a little finicky and temperamental, so I had to take it out of its original soil. That's an older leaf, one of the original leaves. It actually only had, I want to say 3 leaves. So all of these that are up here that are nicely variegated, this one is an older leaf, this is all green one, but everything else, they are new leaves. And it's my dog. May I help you? Okay, back to what I was saying. This one is growing well. Rooting, I have it rooting in some moss. You can see the roots there. And also on this shelf, ignore the mess that I made. There's a Philodendron silver sword. I have it on this mat because there was a newer propagation that I had in here, and I just wanted to make sure the soil dried out fast enough. So this little baby one down here is a newer one. And then the one back here is the bigger mama plant. I took the cutting off of that plant, rooted it, and put it back into here. And this was an old leaf that did just fall off. This part is off too. There you go. That's a silver sword philodendron. Then I have a cutting of a Florida ghost, gifted to me by an amazing plant friend. I really only have one plant friend right now. And she's the best. She gives me cuttings from all of her really amazing plants. The silver splash was from her. So many other ones I'm sure were from her. But I had this one rooting in moss, and I had this plastic wrapped around it to keep the humidity in the moss, and that seemed to work on these heating mats. All of these were really experiments for me, kind of. So it's grown out really well. It just had this one original leaf, and then this one grew, and then this one is the newest one, looking more ghostier as it grows out. And with that, I'll show you what I have growing in this little container. This is just a jar of water that I have things propagating. So this is the other leaf from that Florida ghost. And for whatever reason, it's not really rooting. As you can see, it has that one little like growth point coming in, but the roots or the little aerial roots, haven't done anything. So it's been in water for quite a while. I'm not gonna give up on it. We'll see. I'm confident it will grow into a plant, and then I'll put the two of them together. So that's in there, as well as I do have some silver stripe philodendron. Some silver stripe philodendron cuttings that are here, similar to Philodendron Rio, but not quite, because these have like the yellowish or cream colored veining or variegation in it, whereas a Rio does not. So that's those. And then I have this Philodendron Gabby. It's like a heart-shaped leaf. I have a larger plant that I'll show you, but this was another one that I got one of those like 8-inch baskets from Home Depot, and I split it up. I gifted a few out and then kept a few of the stalks. Oh, and I also traded some. I did. So that's what that's from. And I think that's all that's in this little propagation vessel. And then back here are my pink princess babies. So I had a pink princess plant, and it seemed to only be putting out, it was really weird, it was all pink leaves or all green leaves. And of course the all pink leaves can't sustain themselves because they don't have chlorophyll. So the all pink leaves would die in like a matter of days. So it was just left with a plant that looked all green, which I wasn't super thrilled about. But this is the base of the plant, the mama plant, and this one's growing out nicely. I mean, like this leaf has a little splash of variegation, but then it looks like it's putting out an all pink leaf again, which at this point, you know, I'm over it, whatever, it's fine. But then it does have two other growth points on the plant that I'm hoping will continue to grow out. So there's that one, and there's one, and then there's another one right down here. So I'm hoping that they'll all grow out and be nice and healthy. But, so that's the mama plant. And then this one is a propagation. This one I believe was the top of the plant. Yeah, that was the top of the plant. And then this one was the leaf propagation also that I cut off, and it grew roots. And it's growing out. They're all growing out nicely. I just don't know, you know, which ones are going to be variegated, but likely I will put all of them in the same pot, all four. There was a fifth, but that one didn't make it. It was a little, like a stem cutting. It didn't have a leaf. It did root, and it grew two little baby leaves, but then they didn't make it. So that's all I have on this propagation layer. Oh no, I do have some cuttings from the Philodendron Brasil, and these are in leca. I have like a little plastic baggie in there to hold the water from the leca. So that's that. That's all I have on this little propagation layer. And I will obviously clean that off. And if you didn't notice, the glass that was on here broke. So I just put this little piece of masonite on there, which is likely better to have under plants anyway. There's a large, not large, but pretty long Syndapsis up there. I'll put the name on the screen. And here I believe is the last plant I have in my living room. It's a golden pothos with this totem, and it's in a pretty big pot. And I just never put the vines on the totem when I brought it in from being outside this summer. That was a lot, and we're not even done yet. But I thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you're interested in seeing the grand total of the number of plants that I have, and also seeing a lot of the plants that I have on the second floor of my home, please make sure you tune in to part 2. That should be coming out in a couple of days. And if you aren't subscribed already, please do me that favor and subscribe down below. Also, feel free to leave any comments or questions that you might have if you want to know more about any of the plants I've shown in today's video, as well as maybe some of the plant hangers or the plant pots. Anything you might have a question on, leave it down below. Also, anything I've shown in today's video that I can link, I will link down below as well, like the grow lights or anything else that you guys might be interested in if you are fellow plant lovers as well. Again, keep an eye out for part 2 of the houseplant tour, and I thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you on the next one.